Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we step into the flickering heart of medieval nightlife, a rowdy, fire-lit tavern teeming with stories and spilled ale. Picture yourself pushing open a warped wooden door. It creaks loud enough to hush a laugh or two, and then you're swallowed by warmth, smoke, and sound. Mugs clink, patrons roar with laughter, shadows dance on stone walls under candlelight. Somewhere in the back, a bard strums a melody lost to time. It's chaotic, it's alive, and if you're not careful, you'll leave with more than just a hangover. Maybe a bruised ego, or a dagger-shaped misunderstanding. Life inside a medieval tavern wasn't for the faint of heart, but it was unforgettable. So before we pull up a creaky stool together, take a second to like the video and subscribe. But only if you enjoy wandering through dusty, noisy corners of forgotten history. Drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from, and what time your own tavern doors would close. Now dim the lights. Let the fan echo like the wind outside those wooden shutters. Let's begin. As you step further inside, the first thing you notice is the hodgepodge of patrons. There's a merry group of peasants, faces flushed and joyous, clearly celebrating some recent victory or harvest. Over by the hearth, a knight in battered armour sits wiping away the battle's grime, his hard-earned gold being exchanged for a well-deserved meal. In the corner, a cloaked figure seems intent on remaining unnoticed, though his wary glances suggest a history that begs for curiosity. Finding a seat is easier than you expected, perhaps due to the mix of warm welcomes and those just too inebriated to notice. You settle at a scuffed wooden table, the surface sticky with remnants of the evening's past feasts. Around you, the tavern's staff darts about, delivering mugs of ale and platters piled high with steaming meats and bread. The clinking mugs and exclamations of "Good cheer!" punctuate the ongoing conversations like musical notes. The energy hits you like a rushing river, chaotic yet harmonizing perfectly in its disarray. Each group, each individual, is part of a vivid tapestry that makes this tavern a vibrant microcosm of medieval life. And it's not just the human patrons adding to the tapestry. Among the chatter, chickens occasionally struck between tables, remarkably nonchalant despite the clamour around them. Perhaps here to scavenge a dropped morsel or two, or simply acting as unofficial mascots. As you survey the scene, you begin to notice the range of sights and sounds more vividly. A minstrel in flamboyant garb approaches a nearby table, leaning in to greet familiar faces with a jaunty tune strummed on a lute. It's a tune that feels both ancient and new, compelling in its simplicity and infectious rhythm. You might even find your foot tapping along involuntarily. Now here's a fun tidbit to mull over. While many of us romanticize taverns as places of endless merriment, medieval taverns were also spots of strategic necessity. Travellers relied on them as places to exchange news, and merchants found them pivotal in conducting business. In fact, historians still argue whether taverns truly were the beating heart of social and economic life in medieval times, or if their significance has been overstated by romantic depictions in literature and art. Among the patrons, you notice subtle whispers and exchanges. These hints at secret dealings remind you of a bygone era when taverns served as informal gathering places for local governance and the settling of disputes over shared drinks. It wasn't uncommon for local leaders to hold meetings here, making the tavern a stage for decisions and alliances. Evenings like this, in such lively places, would be pivotal for peasants, or anyone really, seeking respite from the repetitive grind of medieval life. Imagine 6 days a week of relentless toil, the tavern a brief escape on the 7th, a sacred space where rank could mix freely, if only for an evening. Of course, as you observe the scene, it's a wonder that you haven't been conscripted into joining the merriment, with a mug thrust into your hand and a song on your lips. The infectious spirit of communal celebration wraps around you like a warm cloak. It's a far cry from the usual depictions of stern and sombre medieval life. Here, life feels gritty, tangible, and unapologetically human. Yet, as the night progresses, the tavern's lively pulse remains unwavering. You might even endure good-natured ribbing from neighbouring patrons as you fumble for your newfound rhythm within this ancient, vibrant setting. The good humour is infectious, making it hard to resist joining the clinking of mugs that resounds like a medieval symphony throughout the room. They settle in, recognising in this chaotic blend the remnants of long-ago gatherings, the whispered stories of nights much like this one. Nights where legends were born, or at least humorously exaggerated. So, as you soak in your surroundings, raise your imaginary mug to the mingled scent of roasted meat and ale. Here, amidst the rustic charm and camaraderie of the medieval tavern, an intoxicating blend of history and human nature binds you to the continuous rush of stories that have echoed within these lively walls across the ages. Cheers. In more ways than one. As you continue to soak in the lively atmosphere of the medieval tavern, a figure approaches with a commanding presence. A large man with a beard as bushy as the brush by the river's edge and a grin wide enough to span a bridge. This, you quickly gather, is the tavern keeper, the linchpin holding this eclectic assembly together. He greets you with an enthusiastic nod, acknowledging your presence as part of tonight's revelry. The tavern keeper is more than just a man serving drinks. Think of him as the medieval version of a modern-day club manager, with perhaps a dash of sage wisdom and the authority of a benevolent ruler over his tiny, spirited kingdom. His finely worn apron is evidence of a long day's work, yet his energy seems boundless. Immediately, you find yourself captivated not just by his presence, but by the stories that unwind like vine tendrils in his abundance of conversation. He tells tales of previous nights, of outrageous antics he claims would make a bard blush with envy. Aye, it seems each night gifts a new story, whether it be the time a minstrel swapped his lute for a borrowed sword to demonstrate an exaggerated tale of chivalry, or that moment when someone mistook a knight's helmet for an ale mug. Let's just say, it didn't end well for anyone involved. One of the tavern keeper's stories involves a misunderstanding that escalated into what a local poet grandly dubbed the Great Sheep Incident. Apparently, a farmer once strode in claiming his prized sheep had wandered into the establishment. Imagine the absurdity of patrons dodging a darting sheep as they try desperately to maintain their footing and their mugs. Historians, by the way, still debate whether such incidents provide insight into genuine historical practices or if they were exaggerated jests designed to delight and entertain. Of course, the tavern keeper isn't just here for storytelling. He is a master of observation, his eyes sharp as he overlooks his domain. Morezo, he knows the regulars by name, exchanging hearty greetings and ensuring their tankards are never empty for long. His relationship with the patrons veers into the camaraderie one might see between long-lost friends, rediscovering each other over pints, perhaps with the odd bit of ribbing. Now here's a quirky tidbit. Tavern keepers often played roles beyond mere service providers. They were confidants and mediators, those whom patrons could trust with the whispers of secrets exchanged over shared drinks. In that sense, he was something of an informal community leader, versed in the art of discretion, balancing confidentiality and the need for fair judgment in local matters. Amid all the social clamour, the tavern keeper still finds time for the occasional heart-to-heart with patrons. Eyes twinkling conspiratorially, he drops tidbits of wisdom like breadcrumbs, guiding those in need. Whether it's a lovesick traveller or a disillusioned knight, his counsel tradition is time-honoured. The tavern keeper sidles up to your table, his presence warm and grounding. With a nod he offers a tankard of ale, as if the night's narrative cannot flow properly without the gentle lubrication of spirits. You can't help but absorb the warm, inviting energy that radiates from him, almost as though he himself were the hearth at the tavern's core, warming all within his reach. As he speaks further, you realise the tavern keeper's tales stretch beyond these immediate walls. His stories transcend local dramas, touching upon wandering bards and their tales of other realms and far-off places. Perhaps he's travelled himself, or maybe the endless parade of travellers has filled his mind with rich and varied tales. Either way, his stories are as intoxicating as the mead served from oak barrels behind him. And now, for a dose of gentle sarcasm, in a place like this, who needs an appointment with a therapist? You have the tavern keeper. He dispenses his cordial conversations like ancient elixirs, promising deep insight, or, at the very least, a hearty laugh. As the night wanes, you observe the tavern keeper in his natural element, merrily orchestrating an environment where patrons can leave their troubles at the door, even if just for an evening. He bids you return for yet another night of camaraderie and feasting, already weaving his narrative threads of tonight's adventures into the tapestry of his beloved establishment's stories. Sipping on your ale, you can't help but grin, marvelling at how the tavern, under its jovial keeper's guidance, feels like stepping into an alternate universe of medieval delight. Here, the mundane world pauses, and fantasy and reality blur a foil for their own stories, vast and varied, to play out uninterrupted. Welcome to the Medieval Tavern, a place of refuge, spirit, and endless tales. Make sure not to leave without your own chapter added to the fray. As you sit back, allowing the tavern's energy to wash over you, your senses begin to pick up on the scents circulating through the room. It's a veritable olfactory tapestry, a blend of aromas that might just make your head spin. Imagine the air thick with the scent of roasted meats turning slowly above the hearth's crackling flames. Chickens, hams, maybe even an aromatic roast boar if the cook is feeling extravagant tonight. Intermingling with these savoury delights is the robust scent of ale and mead. There's a slight sweetness to it, mingled with the yeasty scent of freshly poured draughts. Your mind might briefly drift to thoughts of amber liquid filling a tankard, foam tipping over the brim like a frothy crown. Yes, this is the unmistakable bouquet of a medieval tavern in full swing. But not all the scents are rich in culinary pleasure. There's a uniquely pungent odour that floats just beneath the surface, something earthy and musty, almost like wet straw. It could be the leftover grains from brewing, stored in the back amid the barrels, or perhaps the undercurrent of a well-trodden dirt floor that's seen its fair share of mud-streaked boots. You might find yourself chuckling at the sensory overload. In the modern world, the rustic simplicity of this environment is both charming and a little overwhelming. Yet here, noses have grown accustomed to such richness, as much a part of tavern life as the mirthful laughter sliding off the walls. Turning your attention back to the sense of cooking, you search out the medieval kitchen's bolder notes. There's the sweet, spicy scent of cinnamon, nutmeg, or perhaps a hint of cloves, brought back by merchants from far-off lands. Their spice is rare and prized, adding their own intrigue to the familiar fare. The kitchen here isn't just for necessity. It's a place where alchemy turns simple ingredients into wonders befitting a feasting hall. Now bear with us as we take a small detour into the realm of historic quirkiness, the medieval penchant for unusual food preservation techniques. Believe it or not, some cooks of the era reputedly swore by a technique involving using the pungent smell of certain offal to deter pests. Yes, you might need to stifle a snicker, though you won't find any sense here quite that, well, specific. Historians continue to debate whether this was truly a practical application or more of an apocryphal tale meant to amuse and confuse. But then again, with medieval hygiene being what it was, perhaps it's not too outlandish an idea at all. As you draw another deep breath, your senses become focused not merely on roasted meats and brewing byproducts, but on the warm, spicy sweet scents of mulled wine, occasionally fetched from a bubbling cauldron over the hearth. It's a mix of honey, warmed spices and fruits that, in a rare tangent, offers a comforting, almost familial aroma amidst the boisterous chaos. The smell hints at hospitality and disclosure, concoctions brewed with intention and shared with sincerity. Another facet of this scent symphony is the omnipresent aroma of bread. It sits on the tables as hearty rounds next to slabs of creamy butter and crockery with rich gravy. Bread, staple and companion to every meal, smells invitingly of toasted crusts and a yeasty warmth that pulls you inwards, simple yet perfect. Finally, laced among these myriad scents, is the distinct, unforgettable scent of humanity. Sweating bodies from animated stories being told, from bodies pressed together in communal celebration, challenge every notion that medieval life was prim and proper. Instead, you find authentic expressions of life being lived in its imperfect glory. It's a picture of savoured experiences, of lives that, for better or worse, marked their places in history with scents that linger long past the moment. Laughing quietly to yourself, you think about how this tavern is both glorious and gritty, its scents as intricately woven into the scene as the timber beams overhead. Here, every aroma tells its own story, and each odour is a part of the tapestry of life that makes this medieval world so distinct. There's an irreplicable warmth in it, a kind that slowly permeates your senses until you're wrapped in the vivid embrace of an authentic medieval moment, moulded by every gulp, every bite, every breath. And, in this timeless mingling of scent and sound, the rhythm of medieval tavern life makes itself known, as alive and inviting today as it was hundreds of years ago. As your senses adjust to the rich tapestry of scents swirling around you, it's time to delve into the culinary offerings of this bustling medieval tavern. You glance around, intrigued by the steaming plates making their way from the kitchen to tables teeming with anticipation. The tavern's menu, as it turns out, is a delightful reflection of the era. Hearty, straightforward, and crafted to fill bellies after a long day of toil. The first dish to catch your eye is a steaming pottage. This thick, savoury stew is the unsung hero of medieval cuisine, an everyday dish that varies with the seasons and the fortunes of those who prepare it. Laden with root vegetables, grains, and perhaps a bit of meat if the kitchen's coffers are flush, pottage is the warm, comforting answer to a peasant's prayers. You imagine yourself scooping up the thick stew with hunks of rustic bread, feeling the warmth seep through your fingers. Nothing says medieval dining quite like eating with your hands. Nearby, a server deftly maneuvers around the room, balancing trays that boast roasted meats of various types. The succulent golden brown fowl seems to command the most attention. Its crispy skin glistening in the firelight, you can practically hear the sizzle, smell the herbs rubbed into the skin before roasting. Thyme, rosemary infusing the meat with their fragrant embrace. A dish worthy of a feast indeed, and one you suspect would have made even the most stoic baron crack a satisfied smile. Not all dishes are as simple or stoic, however. There are ornate pies filled with minced meats and spices, their flaky crusts breaking open to reveal steaming innards. But beware, a surprise among these rich offerings might be lamprey pie. Once considered a delicacy by those with a stomach brave enough to enjoy the eel-like creature, it offers a curious slap of tang and texture to anyone intrepid enough to order it. There's a reason lamprey became a favourite of monarchs. It's the gastronomic equivalent of hold my ale. Now for a quirky dive into medieval dining habits. In an unusual twist, the medieval period boasted some truly strange combinations at the table, including dishes garnished with fruits that seem odd to modern palates. Take, for instance, a fondness for cooking fish with plums or meat with quinces. Historians still grapple with understanding whether these were acts of creative genius or merely desperate attempts to mask unsavoury flavours. For those seeking something less protein-packed, the tavern also offers simple yet delicious fruitier porridge made from boiled wheat, seasoned with sweeteners and spices if available. Topped with the occasional dab of honey or serving of fresh fruit, it's a dish that speaks of comfort and sustenance. It's akin to the modern-day equivalent of mashed potatoes, a canvas open to innovation. As the night progresses and your own stomach begins to rumble in response, you notice a few patrons eyeing dishes of stargazy pie, a dish where fish heads poke through the crust, appearing to gaze skyward. This whimsical yet practical way of cooking was born out of necessity to use every last morsel available. Of course, it's an acquired taste, one some modern palates might find as mysterious as the night sky it mimics, though any discussion of a medieval menu would be incomplete without a nod to the humble alesop. It's a concoction of stale bread soaked in ale, a favourite last resort for those caught short on funds but long on thirst. The alesop embodies the no-waste spirit of the time, where every crumb had its place, no matter how creatively repurposed. Amidst the parade of dishes, you might find yourself musing on the indulgence one encounters while indulging at this medieval table. There's simplicity to it, a reminder that the sustenance of life was genuine, unpretentious, and deeply connected to the land. Yet, it's also a reflection of community and resourcefulness, where shared meals become shared memories, and every meal tells a grander story of survival through the ages. Now, as the clatter of plates and murmur of satisfied diners weave into the tavern's soundtrack, you're left with a sense of delight and curiosity. Despite the few culinary oddities, the menu is undoubtedly one laced with rich flavours and tradition, where each dish serves as a living history lesson within itself. Here, at this medieval feast, the table is laden not just with food, but with the enduring spirit of camaraderie and the celebration of life's simple pleasures. All served with a smile, a jest, and a hearty dig in. The aroma of roasted meats and fresh bread mingles with the unmistakable scent of ale and mead as you delve deeper into the offerings of the tavern. The drink menu, a defining attribute of any medieval tavern, is as vital as the feasts themselves. Here the drinks flow freely, a testament to the social and cultural fabric they weave among the patrons gathered within these timber-framed walls. Your eyes sweep over the rows of frothy tankards being replenished at an impressive pace. Ale, the veritable lifeblood of the medieval tavern, takes pride of place. It's a drink for everyone, from the peasant to the king, and though its alcoholic content might match that of modern brews, its impact certainly does. Served in jugs or tankards, ale offers a comforting warmth, its yeasty aroma a prelude to shared stories and lively toasts. Amid the clinking of mugs, another beloved brew makes its presence known: mead. This golden nectar, crafted from honey and water with a bit of yeast, is sometimes spiced or fruity, bringing a touch of sweetness and luxury to the palate. You might enjoy it chilled in winter or lightly warmed in summer, its versatility only enhancing its popularity. Drinking mead is like sipping on liquid sunshine, each drop a celebration of nature's bounty. It's a drink that whispers tales of long voyages and Viking feasts, stirring a wanderlust that transcends time. Now, here's a delightful historical fact for you. Ale and mead weren't merely consumed for their taste or their revelrous effects. They were often deemed safer to drink than water, which was sometimes teeming with contaminants. So, while lifting your tankard, remember that historical practicality sometimes outweighed preferences. As the tavern energy swells with hearty laughter, a server passes by offering something a bit stronger, a taste of the local alewife's spiced ale, or even an imported wine for those who dare to indulge beyond regional comforts. The importing of wine, particularly from France, was a practice that required wealth and prestige, but when present, it transformed an ordinary evening into an extraordinary affair. In keeping with our tradition of quirky tidbits, let's explore an unusual practice among medieval drinkers: the addition of unique flavouring agents to their concoctions. Some adventurous souls went as far as adding herbs like wormwood or even the bark of a tree, pushing the boundaries of the familiar. Historians still debate whether this was purely for taste or if it served some bizarre health purpose in their eyes. Turning your attention back to the antics around you, the effects of these potent brews are readily discernible. Tongues loosen, laughter becomes infectious, and conversations grow in volume and animation. It appears that the tavern transforms from a simple gathering place into a stage where tales are spun, truths are shared, and reputations are both won and lost, beneath the cheerful gaze of the tavern keeper. Within this mirthful chaos, a card game progresses in one corner, a raucous game of chance that sees its participants investing more than just coin. Observers gather around, tankards in hand, offering advice, solicited or not, and cheering on the proceedings. It's a microcosm of medieval life, an environment where status is momentarily suspended, and even the shyest of souls might boldly raise their voice in song or jest. Suddenly, the room bursts into spontaneous song, a rollicking tavern tune about adventure, love, or perhaps a tale of mischief best left in the shadows of yesteryear. You recognize some verses, others are new, spun on the spot and sure to be forgotten by dawn. Your chuckle at the outrageous rhymes is swallowed by the chorus sung with heartfelt abandon. And here we find yet another eccentricity of medieval tavern culture: the communal mug. It wasn't uncommon for friends to share one regularly toasted vessel, a gesture of unity perhaps, or a practical measure in times when vessels weren't as plentiful as the drink itself. It spoke to the camaraderie among patrons, an unspoken bond of fraternity as potent as the drink they shared. As the night dances on, each sip of ale or mead becomes a toast to the enduring spirit of conviviality, the unseen ties that pull strangers together, if only for an evening. Soon, you'll find yourself raising your imaginary tankard in good cheer, feeling the unrivaled freedom of an evening spent among fellow revellers. In the glowing hearthlight, with the scent of warm brews filling the air, this medieval tavern becomes more than a place. It's an experience. It's a journey through the cultural fabric of existence, woven tight with laughter, stories, and toasts that echo across time. And as your mug finally empties, leaving only the lingering taste and warmth of ale and history, you realize that this journey is as timeless as the tales themselves. The lively soundscape of the tavern envelops you as you begin to notice the various forms of entertainment that bring this medieval scene to life. The room is charged with energy, fueled by the ebb and flow of mead and ale, but much of the night's charm lies in the captivating and often impromptu performances that fill the spaces between conversations. At one end of the room, a small stage, or rather, a hastily cleared space, features a group of minstrels, their presence both oral and visual, as they draw in the crowd with their spirited melodies. Instruments in hand, they weave tales through song. The strings of a lute dance under fingers that seem to have a life of their own. With each chord, the tavern becomes a theatre, its patrons the audience, and the music the script to which all move and sway. Minstrels in medieval times were more than mere musicians. They were the storytellers of their day, carrying news, legends, and humour as they travelled from village to village. Imagine, if you will, how each pluck of their strings, or breath through pipes, transports the audience to battles won, star-crossed lovers, and kingdoms lost and regained. It's an art form that transcends both time and place, an enduring echo of humanity's oldest tales. Amidst the music, another figure captivates attention: the jester. Dressed in colourful garb, bells chiming with each exaggerated step, the jester is a master of comedy and wit. His antics are as unpredictable as they are uproarious, commanding laughter from the crowd with clever quips and physical comedy. It's a role treated with both reverence and mischief, for a jester's humour can both delight and disarm. The jester prances about, interspersing his performance with amusing observations on the foibles of the patrons themselves, or spinning yarns of his own exploits, exaggerated for effect. There's a nuanced mastery to his routine, designed to entertain without offence, though sometimes toes are crossed with cheeky intent, evoking a mix of laughter and mock protest. Again, we see the interplay between audience and performer, a dance as fluid as any waltz. This entertainment merits mention in the annals of quirky history too. In medieval Europe, jesters were often seen playing dual roles, sometimes confidants to royalty as much as entertainers for common folk. It was an unusual power, balancing jest with sharp insight, capable of steering opinion or softening hard truths with humour that cut with considerable precision. Among those enjoying the evening's performances are the travellers, the wandering souls who, much like the performers, crisscross medieval lands. Their presence alone adds to the fabric of tavern entertainment, as they share tales of adventures that border on folklore. From thrilling exploits to near misses with danger and miraculous escapes, their voices add another layer to the room's soundtrack. Meanwhile, a satirist steps forth, enchantment flowing from his lips as if he has an answer to the riddles constructed by musicians and jesters alike. His spoken word is rhythmic and maneric, offering metaphoric puzzles that tease the intellect. For those listening, each verse is as delectable as the food and drink, diving into layers of philosophical musing that remain timeless conversation starters. Together, these performers share a central truth: that the tavern, for all its earthy simplicity, is a haven for creativity in its purest forms. It serves as a hub not just for revelry, but for a shared cultural inheritance, a place where new stories find their genesis next to the warming glow of fire. And so, as the night wends on, the tavern becomes a living entity, a stage for the juxtaposition of raucous laughter and poignant reflection, filled with the universal hope, a space where music and mirth rise to the rafters, and the collective heartbeat of both the past and present can be felt in the rhythmic applause for another outstanding performance. Amid the swirling, energetic ambience, you find yourself caught in the magnetism of medieval entertainment. The harmony of sight, sound, and spirit leaves an indelible mark. A timeless moment cocooned in an ancient tavern where companionship, music, and words blend seamlessly. With a contented sigh, you surrender to the rhythm of the night, knowing this medieval symphony of laughter and song, once begun, will continue until the first hints of dawn warm the tavern's stones. As the night deepens, the tavern hums with a vibrant undercurrent of conversation, a tapestry of voices that weave together tales of adventure, whispered secrets, and the ever-enticing tendrils of gossip. You find yourself irresistibly drawn into this lively exchange, a symphony of words that pulses like a heartbeat through the room. Eavesdropping on the neighbouring patrons, you pick up snippets of animated dialogue. There's a table to your left where a group huddles closely, their heads almost touching as they share details of a local scandal. Their words are laden with righteous indignation, punctuated by laughter and the occasional gasp. You can almost see the sparks of intrigue flicker in their eyes as rumours ripple through the group, igniting imaginations and setting tongues alight. His voice is rich with the cadence of places only dreamed of by many. Vast deserts stretching endlessly beneath foreign stars, rugged mountain terrains dotted with perilous passes. His audience listens with rapt fascination, caught up in the storyteller's spell as he describes mythical beasts and encounters with cultures vastly different from their own. Whether truth or hyperbole, the allure of such tales is irresistible fuel for the mind's wanderlust, and fodder for many a dreamer's flight. And then there's the speculation of current affairs, the ceaseless conversation about political shifts or the latest news from the monarch's court. The tavern, for all its riotous distraction, serves as a crucial meeting point where such matters are discussed. Indeed, historians still argue whether these informal discussions contributed significantly to shaping civic opinions during medieval times, or if they were merely fanciful escapers devoid of influence. Here, where ale flows and animosities often dissipate in laughter, one might not immediately grasp the weight of consequential discussions taking place over stained wagers and toppling mugs. The air is tinged with personal confessions shared between confidants. Close conversations lean towards secrets told beneath the cover of noise, the tale of a forbidden love perhaps, or news of a fortune found or lost. The tavern, chaotic as it might be, offers the rare gift of anonymity. Here patrons embrace a special kind of freedom, the ability to reveal their truths without consequence, within earshot of those respecting the unspoken code of discretion. Meanwhile, gossip makes its rounds, flitting from table to table like a sparrow. Word spreads of a boisterous knight, suspected of wooing more than one of the local noblewomen, a scandalous tidbit that prompts whispers and knowing winks among the crowd. There's something deliciously engaging about these tidbits, the human desire to connect through shared stories, be they fantastical or mundane. All the while, you remain ensconced in this multicultural milieu, acutely aware of the ebb and flow of human experience around you. Against a backdrop of flickering candlelight, laughter and good-natured jests rise to fill the room. Linking people together with threads as strong as steel and light as air, it dawns on you that here, amidst the ale and revelry, tales of triumph and folly stand equally celebrated. Every so often, an astute observer, a merchant perhaps or an off-duty monk, nods wisely at certain exchanges, adding their observations to the conversation in the way lettuce adds freshness to a feast. Their knowledge spans continents and histories, creating a bridge between generations and cultures, an archive accessible to those eager to learn, marked by wisdom carefully guarded and shared in kind. Such moments honour the enduring pursuit of knowledge, a filter through which each story finds its personal resonance. Upon leaving the tavern for the night, each story heard or shared is etched in your memory, a whispered interlude to be pondered beneath the silent starlight or savoured with the heat of a midday sun. Here, the tavern stands as a sanctuary, where voices cross fertile fields of friendship, and tales from every corner of the realm find a kindred spirit in those eager to listen. This is the true magic of the medieval tavern. A kaleidoscope of words and thoughts, painting vibrant pictures of times past, charting unknown territories of human connection. It is where dreams and realities mingle, layered and timeless, each reflecting the power of stories, told in the warmth of camaraderie, a tapestry unending, to weave anew with each sunset and sunrise. With every tale, woven so seamlessly into the fabric of these oak-timbered walls, you too become part of the endless narrative, a living chronicle etched in the idle whispers of the night. As the evening deepens, the tavern's ambience continues to shift and evolve. Here, if you look closely, you'll notice a fascinating assortment of characters that bring the medieval tavern to life. Each patron is a thread in this rich tapestry, a colourful assortment of personalities with stories etched in their every gesture and expression. In one corner sits a mysterious traveller, his cloak pulled tight around him as though shielding both his body and his secrets. His eyes dart across the room, observing with a practised wariness that suggests a long journey, and perhaps more than a few scrapes with danger. You can almost imagine his story, a life on the road, filled with encounters and experiences that would fill volumes should he decide to put pen to parchment. Nearby, you find a group of boisterous locals, their laughter ringing like church bells on a clear morning. Each one seems to embody the spirit of the village, open, hearty, and tinged with mischief. They're sharing stories from the labour of their day, tales of familial skirmishes, coupled with sagas passed down through countless generations. Their camaraderie is infectious, their mirth echoing past the tavern's immediate walls, reaching into the heart of the village like a contagious melody. Near the hearth a weary knight sits, his armour more dented than polished, telling its own silent story of battles faced and survived. He rests with an air of quiet resilience, weariness etched in the lines of his face, yet a flicker of steadfast determination remains, an indomitable spirit forever persistent in its quiet strength. From the subtle hints of wear and calm patience, you gather he's seen much, perhaps more than he's willing to share on this casual night of revelry. Then, in a shadowed nook, sits the enigmatic scholar, a monk or maybe a cleric, adamant in his quest for knowledge. His hands leaf through aged manuscripts, absorbed in the inked pages, precious in this echo of a long-lost past. In this era, such men were keepers of learning, safeguarding the words of philosophers and stories of distant lands. His presence reminds you of the days when education was a luxury afforded to few, and the scholar's diligence whispers of the drive to preserve human understanding across the ages. As your eyes wander, you catch sight of the alewife, bustling about her work with an air of authority and good-natured command. She's a robust woman, whose hands seem as capable of reining in unruly patrons as they are adept at filling tankards with ale. Her banter with the regulars glows with playful familiarity. Her laughter, deep and hearty, adds yet another layer to the symphony of sound. You suspect she knows every secret the tavern harbours, and more than a few that have never been spoken within its walls. Now for an intriguing morsel of medieval culture. Tavern settings such as this often blur traditional social hierarchies, offering a unique egalitarian space. Historians argue whether taverns were true levelling grounds where class distinctions dissolved, or if this is an embellishment of modern romanticism. Either way, it's clear that here, at least for an evening, tales of royalty and peasantry occupy the same cracks in the timbers, all grounded by the weight of the tankards they're lifted with. In the centre of it all stands a jongleur, juggling brightly coloured balls with astonishing deftness. He provides a splash of colour and motion, a reminder of the playful spontaneity that defines these communal gatherings. He punctuates the room with playful jibes and a cheeky wink, a rogue who delights as much in the rush of applause as in his own antics. All these characters, these remarkable personalities, coalesce to bring the tavern to life. They create an environment steeped in the vibrant essence of humanity, where their stories interlace like the roots of an ancient tree, strong and resilient. Each patron adds depth to the rich kaleidoscopic history of this place. The tavern is, indeed, a melting pot of human experience, a testament to the varied lives that converge within these walls. These are the unsung heroes and heroines of everyday life, their trials and triumphs blended into the fabric of history, a tapestry sewn of laughter, of tales told and retold, and of secrets shared under the anonymity of the flickering firelight. With each passing moment, the faces around you become more familiar, inviting you into their circle, part of a continuum of humanity that has persisted through the centuries. Whether noble, rogue, scholar or peasant, the lives you encounter here are the lifeblood of the medieval tavern, echoing the diversity, the resilience, and the profound connection of shared stories in every sense. You find yourself truly immersed in this world, a vivid echo of times long past, forever alive in the lives of those who gather here. As the night progresses, the tavern reverberates with a chorus of sounds, merging into a harmonious ensemble. It's not just the clatter of mugs and lively conversations that fill the air, it's the music that transforms the atmosphere, spinning an ephemeral web that wraps around everyone present. In a cosy alcove, musicians continue their restless performance, a group of minstrels, dressed in colourful, well-worn garments. Their presence is magnetic, each playing an integral part in painting the tavern's soundscape with notes that ripple like music on a breeze. Tonight, they gift the patrons with a lively assortment of melodies. Lilting tunes born of tradition and spontaneous jigs that tease feet into motion. The lute leads, its strings resonating with a rich timbre that speaks of ancient woods and skilled craftsmanship. Its notes carry tales of love and loss, joy and laughter, punctuated by the steady rhythm of the drum, a heartbeat that grounds the tavern in its joyous present. Alongside the lute, a flute's airy notes dance lightly upon the air, flitting playfully like a mischievous fairy darting through the forest. It carries an energy that draws people in, inviting them to move with the music, to become part of the rhythm that pulses through the room. The melodies it spins can vary from cheerful tunes to the melancholy echoes of a pastoral ballad sung by moonlight. Together, these instruments create a performance as diverse as the audience itself, music woven with communal participation, entrancing listeners and setting even the staunchest feet to tapping. Historians still argue whether such tavern entertainment unfailingly inspired a unity or was merely a backdrop to more significant social interaction. Yet, standing here, one senses that music unfailingly unites, casting its spell on all who hear. Suddenly, the music shifts, and the tavern bursts into a rollicking chorus born of ale-fired courage. The song travels from mouth to mouth, building momentum with each verse. It's a bawdy tune, its lyrics as much in jest as in homage to the universal themes of love, adventure, and the absurdity of life. Patrons smile and belt out the lines, each more hilariously audacious than the last, an inside joke between singer and listener, as timeless as the night itself. In the spirit of shared jubilation, you observe a patron rise to his feet, swept up in the infectious tempo of the music. He claps in rhythm, others mirroring his movements, and soon the entire tavern seems caught in the ebb and flow of the dance. The floor reverberates underfoot, as those drawn to the centre begin to twirl and stomp with wild exuberance. You might grin at the thought that, on nights like these, the tavern's floor could well tell tales of more adventurous feats than any battlefield. The camaraderie, spontaneous and uninhibited, is indeed a dance of life, echoing rites as old as the world. And here's a quirky historical tidbit. Minstrels often improvised their music, modifying lyrics to include local lore or, cheekily, to comment on notorious patrons present in the room. It wasn't unusual for a song's subject to redden with embarrassment or puff with pride, proof of the playful power wielded by the minstrel's song. Within this musical rapture lies a quieter presence, a solitary bard, drawn here by the promise of music and merriment. He listens closely, his gaze distant as if charting the harmony of notes in his mind. It reminds you that before tales became texts, songs and poetry were the keepers of stories, preserved and passed down from generation to generation. Tonight, as you sip your imaginary ale and let the music swirl around you like a comforting cloak, it becomes clear that the tavern isn't just a place. It's a shared heartbeat of many lives, a convergence of myriad paths made vibrant through song. The music captures moments, distills them into pure emotion, and releases them as blessings into the night. You find yourself moving without thinking, caught up in the elusive magic that only music, in all its imperfect beauty, can inspire. This gift, both ephemeral and eternal, is the lifeblood of the tavern, a bond as powerful as love, as enduring as laughter. And as the music lingers in the shadows, long after the lights dim and the hearth grows cold, you know it will remain, echoing through the corridors of memory, invisible, yet unforgettable. The tavern, with its music, has drawn you into its circle, a timeless cadence that promises to accompany you beyond its storied walls, ready to lull you to sleep with tales as ageless as the stars. The rhythm of the tavern's music shifts, gently fading into the background as conversations ebb and flow like the tides, becoming the new soundtrack of this gathering place. Here, amid the laughter and clinking of tankards, the tavern also serves a surprising yet vital function, a space where local politics are quietly, or not so quietly, woven into the fabric of everyday life. Ponder this. Medieval taverns weren't just about merriment, they were an essential hub where community matters could be discussed over a hearty meal or a mug of ale. The simple act of meeting here, especially during a time when formal options were sparse, offered a perfect setting for deliberations and decisions. Over by the fireplace, you notice a group of men engaged in spirited dialogue. Their chairs are angled inward, creating a pocket of intensity that seems palpable even from your distance. This is a gathering of import, perhaps local clergymen, guild leaders, or men of council, attempting to resolve the pressing issues of the day. A raised voice catches your attention, punctuated by the emphatic thud of a tankard meeting wood. It's an interplay of passion, opinion, and the communal determination to find consensus. They debate fervently, their discussion touching on topics that concern the entire village: the rights to water from the river, the allocation of communal land, or the nuances of trade tariffs. It's a raw, unguarded parley, a gathering of minds seeking compromise, no matter how vigorously they might clash in the process. Nearby, a pair of farmers comments quietly on the proceedings, nodding in agreement or scratching their heads in dissent. They may not directly be a part of the discussion, but their vested interest is clear, their future intertwined with decisions being forged at that table. In this sense, taverns act as informal town halls, places where pivotal choices are sometimes influenced by those simply passing through, an unexpected power held by the casual observer. As the heated debate rages on, another discovery looms, a lone merchant listening intently, a reserve about him that speaks of keen observation. Minutes slip into hours, and suddenly the merchant leans in, offering an insight gleaned from trading routes and connections in distant lands. His suggestions carry weight, laced with the authority of someone with knowledge far beyond this village's borders, an advantage wielded with wisdom. This moment is a testament to how taverns serve as melting pots for ideas and experiences, often blurring the lines between formal governance and unstructured deliberation. Here, in the noise and seeming chaos, community governance takes one of its many forms, developed in its own time and manner, as unpredictable as the flickering flames of the nearby hearth. In contrast, a table huddled beside the central pillar engages in merriment with a touch of spice. You can hear the names of local lords interspersed with good-natured caricature, harsh words turned humorous. This is the voice of satire, the gentle rebellion against authority, offering its critique to those willing to listen. Such discussions, more reserved in public spaces, find oxygen in the tavern's privacy. It's an ongoing will they or won't they of social parley where opinions shift as freely as barrels on the cart pulled across the dirt track outside. Of course, this hub of governance isn't without its challenges. Historians still deliberate over whether decisions made in taverns held significant sway over community matters, or if this was more wishful romanticism in literature depicting taverns as the bustling heart of civic life. After all, between the ale-induced slurred words of frustrated patrons and the strategic allure of covert discourse, truth often plays with deception, much like cats tangled in yarn. Yet, for all the intensity encased within the round of tankards, the tavern remains a democratic phenomenon of sorts, where, in the fleeting moments of respite, the world doesn't seem quite as heavy. Here, within these sturdy walls, with ale spilling and laughter unfurling like parchment, yesteryear's politics met the human spirit head-on, manifesting as spirited exchanges as energetic and unpredictable as life itself. As you glance around, absorbing the drama of the evening, you marvel at how the tavern encapsulates the vibrant heart of the community and pulses with its swinging pendulum of purpose and celebration. It is both intimate and worldly, prey to the intricate complexities of people and their endless quest to reconcile power and camaraderie simultaneously. In this place, the tavern, the perpetual mediator, decisions echo across generations, each one wrapped in the warmth and the revelry of its makeshift chambers. And as you lean back, letting the voices once again carry you with their ruminations and conspiracies, the tavern whispers its tales of duty and connection, ancient and enduring as the bricks and boards that envelop them, as if inviting you to be part of its storied council of time, one pint at a time. As the tavern pulsates with the ebb and flow of conversation and laughter, you begin to glimpse another essential role it plays in this medieval society: the crucial intersection between commerce and camaraderie. In these wooden, fire-lit confines, taverns act as vital hubs for merchants and traders, where the exchange of goods often accompanies the exchange of stories and information, both valuable currencies in their own right. Within the bustling space, you notice a table occupied by traders' figures draped in fabrics from distant lands, their attire a kaleidoscope of colour and texture. Each garment tells a tale of a different culture, woven into patterns by weavers who may have never seen the lands their creations now traverse. These traders gather here after a long day, haggling at the local marketplace. Their animated gestures speak volumes as they recount tales of their wares and the adventures undertaken in pursuit of precious cargo. Their conversation isn't limited to the immediate exchange of yarns. It drifts to matters more tangible, as parchment scrolls and tattered ledgers are rolled out onto the oak tabletop. Transactions are hashed out over mugs of ale, their contents sloshing vigour into negotiations. These documents, marked in ink that still glistens as if to ensure transaction legitimacy, record sales, trades, agreements, and debts. Economics intertwined with the tavern's pulsating rhythm. Pause for a moment to consider the commercial lifeline that runs through such establishments. While we may romanticize medieval trade, these bustling locations were indeed epicenters, where skilled negotiation mattered as much as the goods themselves. Imagine an era when trade routes splinging through Europe to Asia knit together communities through silk and spice, introducing new ideas and cultural fusion as organically as the shared ale in those beloved tankards. Meanwhile, in a somewhat quieter corner, a lone merchant engages the attention of a small group of locals. This merchant, a seasoned traveller, unwinds stories of distant bazaars filled with wonders fabrics that shimmer like water, scents of foreign spices, and tastes of fruits unfamiliar to local palates. Their stories enchant as much for the novelty as for the glimpses of the world beyond the village's horizon. This infectious thirst for knowledge is an informal educational opportunity for those gathered, many of whom might not leave the village throughout their lives. Here, geography transcends miles, and even a humble farmer learns of trade winds, desert caravans, and the immense distances over which goods travel. It's as if the walls of the tavern could momentarily dissolve, transporting the patrons to exotic lands as richly textured as any tapestry hung on castle walls. And did you know that some of these traders might surprise you with their keen sense of humour? It wasn't uncommon for them to embellish stories as a form of entertainment, or to cleverly disguise the harsher realities of travel. Practiced in the art of storytelling, these merchants sometimes made the lines between fact and fiction delightfully blurred. Within this mixing pot also reside budding trade networks, stretching invisible tendrils across borders, linking disparate communities with purpose and prosperity. Historians continue to puzzle over just how influential these informal tavern agreements may have been in shaping medieval trade. Yet, there's no denying that these exchanges, be they goods, stories, or gossip, left an indelible mark on the fabric of history. Off to one side, a pair of artisans swap experiences with a travelling apothecary, their discussion alight with the possibilities of collaboration. An idea sparks over an ale, a guild forming, friendships blooming amid the shared exhilaration of future dividends. It's a quiet form of diplomacy, punctuated by shared camaraderie, where butter-slick hands sign and seal with the warmth of witness. These are the unseen ties that bind, winding back to guild halls and courts, unfurling across cobblestone streets to intertwine lives in ways as complex as the intricate trade patterns themselves. In the lively intersection of trade and tavern, dreams and plans are sold as much as goods, those priceless whispers of what could be, given the right balance of opportunity and ambition. And as you listen, sipping your imaginary ale, the tavern reveals its secret. The blending of commerce and community within these walls has a melody all its own. It's a symphony conducted nightly, each exchange a note, each merchant a measure, binding together the tapestry of trade that crosses oceans and centuries with miraculous ease. In this medieval microcosm, the tavern captures the dual spirit of connectivity and enterprise, revealing how the hustle of trade mingles with the comfort of storytelling, each one a vital stitch in the enduring fabric of humanity. As the evening mellows into night, you find yourself drawn ever deeper into this timeless dance, wrapped within the tavern's eternal embrace, a nexus of profit, promise, and possibilities, as boundless as the roads that led you here. As the night wears on and the tavern buzzes with the myriad activities that colour its lively tapestry, you start to glimpse the darker, more unpredictable side of this medieval gathering place. Beneath the laughter and camaraderie lies a layer of tension, a reminder that where there is merriment, there can also be mischief and mayhem. In one shadow-filled corner, a group leans in close over a table cluttered with dice and small tokens. Their whispers grow animated as coins are silently wagered, the flick of wrists sending dice clattering across the tabletop. Gambling, while an engaging pastime, is a fickle friend, and its presence in the tavern reveals both the thrill of victory and the sting of loss. A novice gambler, emboldened by a little too much ale, raises the stakes only to find himself grappling with the bitter taste of defeat, an experience as ancient as the dice themselves. Nearby, a card game unfolds where players exchange furtive looks, hands flickering with skillful deceit. It's a game of intellect and intuition, where sly nods and raised eyebrows speak louder than whispered words. That atmospheric tension, the thin line between jovial gaming and grim consequences, is almost tangible, tempering the tavern's buoyant mood with a frisson of suspense. As you observe, you catch wind of a mild commotion brewing at the bar, a misunderstanding heightened by the potent effects of ale mixing with simmering pride. An accidental shove, a hasty word, and suddenly the air hums with the promise of conflict. Gathered patrons pause, gauging the unfolding drama with interest tinged with concern. Just as quickly, the tavern keeper intervenes, his practiced authority dispelling the brewing storm. Few dare to challenge his rule within these walls. After all, a well-run tavern relies on the keeper's ability to maintain harmony, a role that balances good cheer with maintaining discipline. With a firm word, or perhaps a gentle jest, he deftly diffuses the threat, restoring the rhythm of peace before the night can be marred by a wayward brawl. It is in these moments that the tavern's layers unfurl. Rarely confined to one shade, the air thick with emotion, it breathes life and reflects the multifaceted nature of humanity itself. Passion, folly, forgiveness, all played out within these humble communal walls. The darker side of tavern life extends to the rumours that sometimes take hold after too many libations have loosened tongues. A word overheard, an accusation whispered, suddenly becomes a threat, with the power to ignite paranoia. The lines between truth and gossip blur, leaving a wake of unease, an unwelcome guest among the revelry. You might be surprised to learn, however, that some medieval laws reflected this very complexity of tavern life. Did you know there were tavern curfews and rules attempting to prevent gambling and fighting? Historians still ponder whether these regulations effectively curbed rowdiness or were simply optimistic strings threaded through the societal tapestry. As you sit back, watching the night's fluctuations, you can't help but appreciate the overwhelming diversity of emotion and experience interwoven into the tavern's very being. It's a place where life's extremes reach their apex: intense joy, profound sorrow, petty squabbles, and miraculous reconciliations. Despite their ups and downs, camaraderie remains the stalwart guardian against the looming shadows. Patrons share rounds, toast alliances, and form bonds far stronger than any passing conflict. It's a continuous dance of humanity, teetering between light and dark, a reflection of medieval life's rich variety. The tavern, for all its unpredictability, continues to present a canvas of vibrant hues, a testament to the resilience of spirits who find joy in unity and solace in shared experiences. It stands as a sanctuary that embraces the dual nature of existence, offering a space where life's full spectrum can unfold unfettered. And as you finally rise to leave, a nod of acknowledgement from a passing patron perhaps signals an unspoken understanding of this shared adventure, an unedited page in your story. Here, within the rough-hewn beams and flickering firelight, you've borne witness to the intricate dance where humanity's shadows and its brightest moments collide. A dance as endless as the tales this tavern continues to birth, destined to echo through the centuries, whispered in the night. As the night unfurls its silken darkness, draping the tavern with a veil of serenity, some patrons linger, savouring the last drops of conviviality before heading to their respective hearths. It's during these quiet moments that you begin to notice another dynamic lurking within the contours of medieval tavern life: the tension between earthly indulgence and the spiritual strictures that define the era, particularly the interplay between the tavern and the church. While the tavern stands as a bastion of revelry and respite, inviting patrons to partake in life's earthly pleasures, the church occupies a different role in the medieval landscape. It sits like a solemn counterbalance, serving as a moral and spiritual compass that speaks to eternity and the afterlife, its influence echoing through the corridors of daily existence. The relationship between these two entities is as interwoven as it is strained, each asserting its reality in worlds that overlap more often than many might realize. In a corner by the window, a monk sits quietly, his robes a stark contrast to the mundane wear of the tavern's clientele. He sips water, occasionally pausing to join in light conversation, yet his presence is a subtle reminder of the ecclesiastical gaze that reaches even into these humble walls. Historians argue whether the church considered taverns a threat to moral order, or simply another facet of community life that could be shaped and, when necessary, corrected. Either way, its influence here is undeniable. Consider the sermons those fiery orations delivered in candlelit abbeys, crafted to extol the virtues of sobriety and charity, while railing against the sins of excess and indulgence found in places like this very tavern. These sermons present codified ideals of modesty and restraint, and consequently taverns often find themselves in ecclesiastical crosshairs, perceived as dens of iniquity luring the pious from their paths. Yet paradoxically, the tavern and the church also share a symbiotic relationship when it comes to community gatherings. Funerals and weddings, for instance, see celebrations spilling from the pews of solemn chapels into the warmth and conviviality of tavern halls. Here, vows are toasted and memories are honoured, dissolving barriers between spiritual solemnity and earthly jubilation. A satirical minstrel nudges the air's heavy atmosphere with a cheeky tune, wrapping together the contrasting themes of faith and festivity into a ditty that draws forth laughter from those gathered. It's a song that pokes fun at the tension by painting scenes of heaven's gates owing a nod to the tavern's humble door. A musical reminder that joy and holiness can sometimes dance together in unexpected places. Sitting nearby, you might overhear whispers of local church decrees rattled off by those attempting to adhere to rules and the dictates of conscience, and a musing commentary on medieval life where even the devout sometimes journeyed to taverns for communion of a different kind. During this time, the church became keenly aware of the tavern's draw. There are records showing attempts to regulate tavern activities, imposing early closing hours, or even declaring particular feast days free of indulgence in ale and music. In terms of efficacy, however, these ecclesiastic decrees were often met with wry grins and knowing winks from the tavern-goers, a testament to human nature's enduring love for celebration. For all the talk of tension, it's important to note that the tavern also bridges gaps in unexpected ways. For some, that very same monk recognised the tavern as a place where he could meet the very people his sermons inspired, where he might exchange knowledge more freely, share news, or offer guidance over a meal. The tavern becomes, in its own right, a facet of spirituality, a venue for the mingling not just of drink and story, but of perspective and faith. Lulled by the cosier, quieter notes of these late hours, you find yourself considering how these worlds interact, each contributing uniquely to the rich fabric of everyday life, each carving their name in the ledger of history. In many ways, the tavern provides a balance, embracing opportunities for communion far beyond what could be preached from pulpit or pew. And as the monk rises to depart, acknowledging others with a gracious nod before disappearing into the night's embrace, you witness a beautiful contradiction. The tavern's acceptance of life's fullness, woven with celebratory spirit and hopeful resolve. Here, amidst the labyrinth of laughter and intrigue, even the sacred and the spirited find a common ground. A juxtaposition of faith, yet abiding proof of life's endless dance between stars overhead and the earth firmly underfoot. As you take a moment to breathe in the atmosphere, your attention shifts from the lively dynamics within to the sturdy structure around you. The architecture of the medieval tavern itself is a character, whispering of craftsmanship and stories etched in its foundations. The very bones of this place contribute to its allure, offering a tangible link to the past. You begin to notice the wooden beams running across the low ceiling, darkened by both time and the smoke of countless hearth fires. Each beam is a testament to the skilled hands that shaped it, carpenters who selected the finest oak from nearby woods, knowing these timbers would hold the laughter and livelihoods of generations. They are arranged in a harmonious pattern, creating a comforting canopy that feels as timeless as the stories shared below. The floors beneath your feet are a patchwork of cobblestones worn smooth by the passage of many boots. Thousands of steps recorded in the tapestry of time. Each stone holds echoes of past patrons who've walked these corridors, laughed away the evening, or shared earnest whispers long forgotten with the thicker threads of history. It's not just a floor, but an ongoing chronicle of every instance of happiness and heartbreak within the tavern's walls. The walls are thick and sturdy, constructed of a blend of timber and wattle and daub, a common medieval technique that combines woven latticework filled with clay, straw, and other earthy materials. The texture lends a warmth and resilience to the building, enveloping its guests with a sense of security. You can almost feel the care with which it was built, each layer added with consideration to endure through seasons, storms, and the test of time. The windows are small openings, often shuttered to keep the chill at bay. Glass, a luxury of the time, would be too costly for such an establishment and its patrons. Instead, these apertures are covered with thin strips of horn or oiled parchment, diffusing the glow of hearth and candle into the night, tinny beacons that offer a welcoming glow to weary travellers. Amidst this utilitarian beauty, the tavern's fireplace commands attention. It's more than just a source of warmth. It's the heart of the tavern, around which stories unfold and deals are struck. The hearth's light casts a golden hue on those gathered close, painting them in shades of nostalgia and homeliness, a reminder of the anchor it provides in the tavern's microcosm of life. You might be amused to consider that some guests, peasant or gentlefolk, not only warmed themselves by these fires, but also engaged in a whimsical tradition, a communal barefoot step upon the hearthstones as a tiny defiance against the elements, a silly gesture perhaps, but one that embodies the simple pleasures and solidarities found in everyday moments. As with many things from this era, historians continue to debate the precise layouts most taverns employed, pondering whether certain architectural trends sprang from necessity or personal preference of tavern keepers. This variation in design makes each one unique, even as common elements unify them under the shared purpose of sanctuary and comfort. Decorating this cozy setting are objects that speak of the tavern keeper's personality and the region's cultural heritage. Shelves lined with earthenware jugs and ceramic cups, each telling its own tale of craftsmanship. Pair with hunting trophies, garlands of herbs, and maybe a family crest painted with pride upon the hearth's mantle. These decorous touches blend warmth with an air of personal character, a salute to individuality amid the communal harmony. Eyes trailing across the room, you notice how even the smallest details, the iron sconces, the engraved wooden stools, the settle benches worn smooth by many sitters, blend form and function. They shape an environment wholly medieval, yet universally recognizable as a sanctuary for storytelling and solace. In allowing yourself this exploration, you've tapped into the silent witness that tavern architecture truly embodies. Its structure is both anchor and impetus, cradle and crucible, nurturing and preserving the life teeming within without ever catering to it. It's a living, breathing entity, its walls absorbing joys and sorrows, stories and secrets, binding them all together into an eternal echo. With each creak, each whisper of stone and beam, the tavern architecture speaks, not just through its physical beauty, but through its enduring role as a vessel for memory and human connection. And though built with mortar and wood, it holds within it the intangible essence of history's pulse, beating with the rhythm of hearts long past and those yet to come. Here you've found more than the mere sum of beams and bricks, a steadfast monument to the seamless narrative between the people who inhabit it and the tales they together weave. As evening stretches into night and the tavern continues to pulsate with life, there's a wondrous yet familiar sensation, that of stepping within the scenes of medieval literature, finding oneself amid the vibrant backdrop of tales old as time. Taverns have long served as a cornerstone in the symbolic landscape of stories from the medieval era, etched in ink that gives life to timeless narratives. Imagine this. A young traveller, wide-eyed and full of ambition, enters the tavern for the first time. He weaves his way through the throng, oblivious to the clamour, but drawn by an indelible sense of destiny awaiting somewhere in its folds. It's a scene vividly rendered in many a medieval tome, where a hero's journey might ignite, forging alliances around these ancient tables in the embers of camaraderie and shared drink. Authors of the time revelled in such settings, often using them as the backdrop for significant turning points, from Chaucer's bustling inns in the Canterbury Tales, where a motley crew of pilgrims share stories en route to Canterbury Cathedral, to the tavern scenes peppered throughout Arthurian legends, where knights gathered to discuss mighty quests and noble endeavours. Such havens became vital in the writer's toolkit. The humble tavern stands as a testament to human nature's eternal quest for connection and narrative, a cornerstone of plot woven through allegory and anecdote. The tavern's appeal to storytellers is clear. It offers a liminal space where disparate threads converge, where social classes mingle, and where stories spring forth from the artistic cauldron bubbling with life. Its setting supports a tangible arena for character development, inciting conflict, romance, and adventures, fueled by the spirit of shared humanity. In one corner of our living, breathing backdrop, a bard recites verses from tales lit by the imaginations of countless listeners. His voice rises in rhythm, bringing to life captivating chronicles of bravery, trickery, and love lost or found. The crowd leans in, transfixed, caught between the world as they know it and the limitless realms spinning just beyond their grasp. The bard serves as the keeper of memory, drawing a line between storyteller and scribe, ensuring tales are passed down through the ages. It's no wonder some bards, in an effort to preserve history and captivate audiences alike, were fond of embellishing events, adding flourishes that blur truth with fiction. Historians still debate whether these poetic liberties enrich society's narrative or diluted historical accuracy, yet one thing remains clear. The spirit of these tales lingers in every nook and cranny of our story-steeped tavern, And here we find the quirky charm of the medieval tavern's literary muse. While anecdotes of brooding bards and thieving knaves populate these works, it is tales of witches supping by firelight and jesters whispering humorous yet poignant truths that lend vibrancy to this tableau vivant. More than once a listener has sworn they've seen the very characters leap from pages to stride into their nightly gatherings. Such is the power of a story well told. In modern reflections, the tavern's influence on storytelling is undeniably romanticized. It holds a nostalgic appeal, both as a setting for fiction and a conduit for real-life inspiration. For the creative soul, these establishments were, and remain, fertile ground for the imagination, crafting opportunities for growth, challenge and renewal. And now, as you watch the unfolding scene, the genuine poignancy of these settings becomes clear, more than mere backdrops. They're integral to the stories they contain, anchoring the sweep of human experience in reality's framework while spinning cobwebs of wonder into our lives. With every retelling, with each song, poem, or whispered word exchanged within these walls and committed to the dreamy depths of a page, the medieval tavern itself becomes a steadfast narrative force. It captivates by finding that delicate balance between fantasy and the stark vividness of reality, leaving behind a legacy that has stood the test of time and beckons all, then and now, to partake in its living legend. Here the ghosts of stories past and present hang thick as the aroma of mead, inviting you to turn the page of your own tale with each step you take toward tomorrow. The tavern hums with a buzz of energy as the night unfolds, each table its own universe of stories and laughter. Yet, as with any gathering of exuberant souls fortified by ale and heady with the joy of the present, moments of tension sometimes bubble beneath the surface. When you least expect it, the peaceful rhythm of the tavern can pulse into chaos. A tavern brawl poised on the horizon, the evening's merriment takes a slight turn, as a boisterous chorus turns into an overzealous gesture, and a tankard of ale spills across a table. The cause may be as trivial as a misunderstood jest, or a wayward glance that wasn't meant to linger. Still, it acts as a catalyst, sparking an immediate response from those involved. It's almost comical how quickly things escalate, the air suddenly thick with anticipation as chairs scrape back, and bystanders turn to catch the action like children witnessing a slapstick performance. Fists begin to fly, and the chaos that's woven into the tavern's fabric unfurls, feeding into the scene. There's a surge of bodies, each drawn forward by a mix of curiosity and excitement. It is said that such brawls were an unpredictable dance of sorts, not exclusive to anger, but sometimes ignited by underlying tensions built up through the nights of storytelling and revelry. History tells us that brawls in medieval taverns were relatively common, though often more bark than bite. They were a spontaneous eruption of stresses, or simply a cathartic outburst for those who faced the terrains of their daily struggles with stoic resilience. Yet, there was always a light-heartedness to such tussles, rarely with serious intent, and often resolved quickly, leaving nursing egos rather than lasting injuries. As the scuffle unfolds, a tankard flies through the air like a comet against a backdrop of firelight, the spectators letting out a collective gasp. It is caught deftly by a quick-thinking patron, who, amid the mess, turns the scene toward humour, prompting laughter even from those whose temper flared moments earlier. In a paradoxical twist, brawls can become unifying forces, rallying bystanders to step in and diffuse the tension, a reminder of shared humanity in its sometimes messy form. The tavern keeper, swift and adept, steps into the fray, his hands raised in an authoritative call for peace, something of a medieval maestro conducting a symphony of discord. With wise words and a firm demeanour, he quells the ire to murmurings of apology and the stomping of embarrassed feet back to their places. And just like that, the tavern's rhythms gently settle once more, with giggles filling the gaps where tempers briefly flared. An onlooker, perhaps a grizzled sergeant off duty, leans back with a knowing smile, recounting tales of grander skirmishes faced in real battle. It's common knowledge that this space, a crucible for daily life's tests and tribulations, offers a less dangerous stage to purify such fire and passion for aggression. Where else would such a dance of audacious human spirit exist but here, within the tavern's familiar embrace? The brawl becomes a story for another night, the kind told with exaggerated gestures and embellishments that transform it into part of the tavern's lore, offering lessons in humility, unity and, not least, the importance of a solid, ale-focused grip. Have you heard this quirky aspect of medieval brawling? It wasn't uncommon for minor skirmishes to end with both parties buying rounds for each other, a nod to the resilience of friendship and the fleeting nature of such confrontations. In this world of medieval intrigue, humour and humanity, the brawl occupies its paradoxical niche. It stirs the evening but leaves behind a sense of relief once peace is restored, reinforcing the idea that amidst such vibrant gatherings, the bounds of brotherhood and kinship are forged stronger than steel. As the tavern resumes its laughter and song, shadows lengthening across wooden beams, you are once again drawn into the lively cadence of a place that embodies life's balance between tranquility and tumult. Here, even chaos becomes a thread in the tapestry of communal experience, leaving everyone a little closer and the night all the richer for its existence. And so, with a nod to its timeless role in the tale of human celebration, the tavern reclaims its role as the keeper of stories, peace, and peculiar magic under the blanket of stars. With the echoes of the recent brawl quieting into the gentle undercurrent of tavern noise, the room evolves once more. It suddenly brims with an air of casual relaxation, an inviting atmosphere perfect for the next act in tonight's lively drama. The diverse array of games favoured within these rustic walls. On entering, the eye is drawn to a group gathered around a table cluttered with an assortment of peculiar objects. A set of wooden dice, some rudimentary carved figures, and a few well-worn decks of cards. Games in the medieval tavern encompass both skill and chance, a delightful escape for patrons eager to test their wits or simply enjoy the thrill of competition. One of the most popular pastimes unfolds with the roll of the dice. A game involving luck, probability, and sometimes a gentle touch of superstition, dice games captivate players as effectively now as they did back then. Each roll delivers a moment of suspense, the air tingling with possibility. Onlookers offer advice unsolicited, interjecting with gasps and laughter as the dice clatter across the table, tumbling bits of fate, deciding a player's fortune. There's a legendary tale, or so the locals say, about a famed gambler who once predicted outcomes with uncanny precision, a master of counting spots and knowing when to hold and when to risk it all, fueled perhaps just as much by intuition as by any measure of skill. Such stories of triumph and downfall drift through the tavern like ephemeral vapour, feeding imagination with delightful what-ifs. In another corner, a duo engages in the cerebral dance of a strategy game akin to early chess, the rules etched into their minds. They slide their pieces across a checkerboard array of squares, engaging not just in tactics, but in an intellectual sparring match that draws in a quiet crowd. Amid the clatter surrounding them, these players remain an island of focused concentration, captains charting their navies through well-thought-out maneuvers and strategic deliberations. Historically, strategy games held a mirror to the clashing of wits in the real world, providing those who aspired to leadership a chance to hone their skills in decision-making. Historians continue to reflect on whether mastery in such games influenced real-life gambits, crediting or critiquing rulers whose prowess in the tavern might have inspired or sometimes misguided them when larger stakes were at hand. You can't help but chuckle at a nearby chess table, encircled by amateur players and their mercilessly honest audience, common folk with a shared affection for brilliance and blunders. The line between reality and the conjured game blurred by their enthusiasm and encouragement. Moving through the space, you encounter a table where patrons play with cards, intricately painted depictions of lords and ladies, jesters and robbers passing among eager hands. Each draw of the hand leads to a flurry of anticipation and re-evaluation. Such card games were a source of both merriment and mystique, the cards revealing a formidable spectrum of human fortune on their delicate parchment faces. Another curious game claims the attention of many, involving darts carved from wood and feathers, hurled with deft precision towards crudely drawn circles on a nearby timber wall. It's a spectacle of skill, sometimes mimicking a knight's steely focus upon his target. The rhythmic thud of darts becomes a hypnotic heartbeat within the tavern, the occasional hollering of encouragement or disappointment punctuating the seemingly endless rounds. And in a delightful twist of history, let's not forget the tradition of riddles, a cornerstone of medieval entertainment. With ale-fueled bravery, patrons might challenge each other to outwit and outsmart via these intellectual puzzles, counting on both logic and cunning to earn the evening's bragging rights. These games are more than simple diversions. They're threads weaving through the social fabric, binding players and observers together in shared joy. They're an expression of community spirit, drawing tension and releasing it through jovial rivalry, friendly challenge, and clever repartee. In this microcosm of medieval leisure, the tavern brims with the timeless lure of games shared in good company, a warming reminder of the enduring power of laughter and competition. This fellowship, coursing through the room like an invigorating tide, fuels the night until the first light of dawn begins to trickle over distant hills. And as you watch each roll of the dice, each decisive play of a card, you find yourself drawn yet again into this universal dance, a reminder that whether medieval or present day, the human heart's penchant for play and connection remains constant, ever beating in time with life's rhythm around the communal table. Here in the tavern, amidst the chortles of victory and the groans of near-miss strategies, lies the eternal spirit of play, a gift treasured through the ages. The tavern settles into the comforting hum of evening, with the earlier boisterousness mellowing into the cosy camaraderie of old friends and new acquaintances. It's in these serene moments that the tavern reveals yet another facet of its identity, a sanctuary for weary travellers seeking rest, respite, and a sense of belonging after journeys long and arduous. In a quiet alcove, a traveller sits nursing a warm mug of ale, eyes reflecting the glow of the hearth as they begin to relax from the vigilance of the road. Carried with him is the dust of countless miles, each step its own chapter of adventure and discovery, written upon his weary boots. His journey has not only left marks on his attire, but in his demeanour, a mix of stories and smiles cradled within him, ready to unfurl across the tavern's wooden tables. The tavern, with its roaring fire and unspoken acceptance, offers a haven where travellers can lay down their burdens, if only for the night. Here, in this enclave of light and laughter, the traveller can exchange tales of distant lands, mountain passes cloaked in snow, bustling markets scented with spice, imbuing the tavern with the essence of every corner of the known world. In return, he draws from the deep well of local lore, expanding his world with each shared tale. Around him, locals gather with curiosity, eager to hear of life beyond their village's constraints. They listen as he speaks of peculiar customs, strange tongues, and marvellous sights. Perhaps the towering spires of cathedrals, or the eerie emptiness of a desert at dawn. With every story, the walls of the tavern seem to stretch, accommodating the vastness of the world brought within by each voyager's tale. Seated at the bar, another traveller writes notes by candlelight, documenting encounters and sketching places he's seen, capturing his journey with quill and parchment. In times when travel was both perilous and rare, such chronicles became treasures, permitting future generations to glimpse a world far beyond the everyday horizon. These itineraries held value beyond personal reflection, sometimes handed down as testaments to lands explored and realms yet imagined. Yet here's a curious twist of medieval insight. Some travellers arrived armed with tales less factual, spun with threads of fiction or exaggeration to either entertain or elevate their exploits beyond the mundane. Historians debate how much these embellished stories contributed to perceptions of distant places, where fact and fancy sometimes danced a delicate waltz across the map of oral tradition. Nearby, an innkeeper speaks with a group of traders, discussing accommodations for themselves and their cargo. The innkeeper, with years of experience etched upon her face and wisdom in her eyes, knows the balm a secure night's rest can offer. Her pragmatic presence, coupled with the crackling fire, is shelter embodied, a reminder of safety after the ever-looming risks of travel. Beyond beds and brew, travellers also come seeking a sense of community in the tavern. Even amid the clamour and chaos, the tavern fosters a spirit of kinship, a vital thread that connects those who roam to those who remain. A bridge spanning the distances defined by time, space, and circumstance. Such comfort can transform a dreary night into a shared experience, where laughter earns its rightful place alongside ale, binding strangers into friendships built on the warmth of storytelling and a hearty meal. Here voices blend, tales mingle, and for a few precious hours burdens lighten as dreams take flight under the tavern's flickering candlelight. As the shadows deepen, the tavern quiets, travellers reclining easily into this space of calmness and connection. Among them, the rhythmic breathing of those deeply asleep mixes with soft whispers of evening's embrace, a lullaby to the soul weary from wandering, inviting solace and peace. And so, under the soft gaze of starlight filtering through tiny windows, the tavern becomes a resting heart for all who gather within its walls. Each traveller, each spectator, offers a unique stitch to the tapestry that's both individual and shared. In this remote pause upon life's ceaseless journey, the tavern's warmth becomes a cherished refuge, where one bed or one modest meal might convey more comfort than the grandest of castles. Here, within the tender whisperings and tired smiles exchanged between patrons and sun-kissed travellers, lies the cosy promise of the medieval tavern. A place not just for revelry and regale, but for recharging the spirit. A sanctuary where no one is truly a stranger, and every weary wanderer finds their place by the fire, if only for the night. With the quiet rhythms of the tavern settling into the velvet softness of evening, one can't help but ponder the intricate dance of law and order that underpins this vibrant hub of medieval life. The tavern may pulse with laughter and merriment, but there's a foundation of regulation that ensures it functions within the era's legal framework. A fascinating interplay between revelry and regulation. The medieval tavern, while a sanctuary for camaraderie, was also a place of governance, operating under a set of rules designed to keep chaos at bay while ensuring the crown's coffers remained filled. The act of running a tavern carried responsibilities both to those who sought respite within its walls and to the authorities that sanctioned its existence. Imagine the tavern keeper, who not only manages the nightly revelries but also meticulously records transactions within thick, ledger-bound volumes. Among entries of ale sold and meals served are tax records required by local officials, developed in compliance with mandates dictating fair trade practices and financial transparency. This process ensures that the king or local lord receives dues owed, their share of economic bounties captured in ink and number. Beyond taxation, laws also govern who may drink, when they may do so, and even how much. Curfews are implemented to curb excessive revelry, with fines levied against tavern keepers should their establishments refuse to heed mandated closing hours. Such regulations are a nod to the tavern's pull, not just as a social hub, but as a place where indulgence could spill into recklessness if left unchecked. However, the tavern's role in legal matters transcends mere taxation or regulation. Occasionally it acts as a de facto courthouse, where disputes among locals are arbitrated in the presence of neutral witnesses. Minor grievances, such as contested debts or property lines, might find resolution over a shared pint, the mediation carried out amidst merry chatter and good-natured banter. Witness the lively debate between two stocky farmers, gently refereed by the tavern keeper himself. A boundary dispute between their plots is discussed, with neighbours offering observations and historical reminders in the form of anecdotes or sage nods. It's a court of common-sense justice, significant enough to acknowledge, yet amicable enough to seal with a handshake and a round of ale. Historians still speculate on the exact influence these informal justice gatherings held. Some suggest that they were instrumental in promoting communal harmony, while others postulate that the institution of tavern justice might exaggerate closeness within villages or towns. Nonetheless, these unofficial gatherings often helped stave off more serious court proceedings, illustrating how community-led conflict resolution plays out within informal settings. Moreover, taverns could become auxiliary sites for declarations of laws and edicts, where criers or travelling scribes delivered proclamations from the king or lord. The patrons, gathered over their ale, listened intently as matters of governance and decree were pronounced, staying informed even amid jubilant realms of tavern chatter. In a world heavily structured by class hierarchy, the tavern stood as an equalizer of sorts. While beneath its roof, knights and labourers, merchants and farmers adhered to codes, spoken and unspoken, that underpinned tavern life. Alcohol, after all, is an expert at eroding barriers, smoothing the rough edges of social stratification, but it works more effectively when buffered by defined rules. Lastly, let us not forget the curious societal adaptations seen in taverns, like the role of the ale taster, charged with ensuring the quality of drink offered meets the era's strict regulations. It's a role steeped in responsibility, one that plays a small yet essential part in maintaining tavern reputability and the trust of its clientele. As you absorb all this, you realise the tavern's true brilliance lies in its dual existence, a place of liberation dancing hand in hand with quiet governance and discreet control. It's a testament to the strength of balance, offering simplicity within the complexity of medieval life. As the tavern's cadence dims with the arrival of deeper night, you understand that these rules, subtle yet firm, act as invisible walls within the tavern, a containment that turns discord into harmony, echoing through laughter and song. This extraordinary balance of rules and revelry reminds us of the tavern's unswerving fidelity to its role as a stalwart bastion of medieval life, a testament to the delicate dance between freedom and order in the grace of history's embrace. With this knowledge, you prepare to leave the tavern's embrace, knowing there's wisdom found among its humble walls. As the hearth's glow diminishes to embers, and the chatter of patrons dwindles to soft murmurs, the tavern embraces a quieter phase. This sanctuary, teeming with tales and laughter, now embarks on its gentle descent into the calmness of night. It's a time for reflection and a final toast to the evening's pleasures with newfound friends. You sit back, taking in the softened sounds around you, tangards clinking softly against the wood as they're gathered, chairs scraping gently over the cobblestone floor, and the muted crackle of the dying fire lending its soothing symphony. There's a lingering resonance of stories shared, a tender echo held within the tavern's storied walls. In these waning moments, the tavern keeper moves quietly through the room, extinguishing candles and offering parting words of farewell to departing guests. His presence is an anchor, ensuring that each patron finds their way with warmth and gratitude for the simple joys shared. Heartfelt exchanges occur between friends old and new, promises made to return, embrace the camaraderie again. It's here, in this lull, that the essence of the tavern truly shines, a place where tales interweave, leaving behind seams of connection that hold tight even after the hearth's fire has cooled. Each whispered farewell hangs like a delicate thread in the evening's tapestry, a final note in a harmonious composition. Reflecting on your journey through this medieval haven, you recall how every facet of the evening blended into a symphony of life. The bustling arrival, the lively entertainment, the intricate dances of negotiation and discourse, the warmth of shared stories, all underscored by the gentle currents of humanity. It is a space where ordinary meets extraordinary, and every soul is invited to add a brushstroke to the canvas of history unfolding. Consider the tavern as a microcosm of the medieval world, a reminder that amid the annals of kings and battles, the heart of daily life beats strongest in these quiet, unassuming chambers. It's here that connections are forged. The moon hangs high now, softly draping its silken cloak over cobblestones that shimmer like silver. Step outside into the night's embrace and feel the fresh, cool air wash over you. It carries whispers of the past and the promise of stories yet to be told in taverns yet to be visited. Memories of tonight become yet another chapter written in this eternal cycle of gathering, sharing, and parting. And though you depart from this enchanting realm, rest assured that the warmth and wonder of the medieval tavern accompany you, a companion through the solitude of night. It's an enduring echo, comforting in its familiarity, fading gently, yet linked to every soul who's ever walked these paths, inviting them to return someday. As you drift into your dreams, whispers of laughter, the sweet strum of the lute, and the heady scent of ale blend together into a lullaby. The tavern belongs to the night now, cradling memories until the first light of dawn beckons once more. In that golden glow, patrons will gather again to rekindle the fire and awaken the stories held in cusp and corner. With these gentle musings enfolding you like a soft woolen blanket, your breathing becomes a slow, measured rhythm. Let yourself be carried on the wings of history's gentle embrace, knowing the tavern spirit will guide you into peaceful slumber. Greater than, end of script, sweet dreams.